Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Again, I definitely consider it a huge pleasure to be asked to even be here and even come up and speak. About 3 months ago, the Lord moved me to go to the Christian bookstore, and I bought this new Bible, which basically is a life application study Bible, because I personally wanted to get a little bit closer and want to do a little bit of reading. My story does go along with the reading somewhat, in that at one time I was definitely a lost lamb or a lost sheep. So I'm going to hit on that. I am going to do some more reading that I think is very apropos. Basically, it's mostly about Mother's Day. With that, first reading is Deuteronomy 21:18 or 18:21. If someone has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father and mother, and will not listen to them when they discipline him, his father and mother shall take hold of him, bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, "This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us. He is a glutton and a drunkard." Then all the men of the town are to stone him to death. They must purge the evil out of the town. Like I said, if you can't hear me, last night some people said they couldn't hear me. I did use the portable mic. If you can't hear me, raise and I'll go back over there. So I'll share 3 stories about myself, which at the time I should have been hung or actually stoned. The first one, way back in 1978, my mother and father, but my mother was blessed with a brand new car, her first and only new car. It was a 1978 Chevy Malibu, 307 engine, and she let me take her car to go to work. And at the time I was a lifeguard at Sunset Lake, but that's by the way. So on the way there, on the radio, a song, a very popular song back then, called Alice Cooper, Only Women's Bleed, came on. It was by Alice Cooper. So I looked down to turn the radio. When I looked up, there was a car dead in front of me, stopped. Slammed on the brakes, went left to center, through a ditch, head on into a tree. Totaled my mother's only car, only new car. Story number 2. And also, most recently, I am 55 years old now, so at 51 years old, I had to get my wife, my son, and my parents together and confess that I was addicted to prescription pain medicine. And now my mother, who was here last night, thank God, wish she was here today, but that's my point. My mother was first to jump in. It's not your fault, it's them doggone doctors. No. It was me. I would fake that I had gout. I broke my ankle in 8th grade, so I would literally pound that bad looking ankle with my fist before the doctor come in. And he would say, "What's wrong?" I would say, "Hey, I got the gout again." Boom, more prescription pain medicine. Now, not only was I taking it, but I was abusing it. Okay, I was doing it at work every hour, on the hour, snorting it, crushing it, and snorting it. Obviously not a very high time in my life. I'm very happy to say, with the help of AA and stuff like that, I've definitely been on a good spiritual journey, and you've been glad to hear it. So you're thinking, wow, it can't get too much worse than that. But anyway, the third and last, back in 1973, some of you probably know, but actually I went to St. John's here when it was a school. And back in 73, there was a lot of race riots here in Elyria. So my parents didn't want to send me to Elyria High. So my mother, God bless her, took a job just so they could afford to send me to Cleveland Lutheran High School West. A better school. I would get a much better education. And she worked very, very hard to earn money to put me through that school. like all good parents, I'm a senior in high school, and they're asking me, Steve, hey, how's it going? You doing all right? Grades good? And of course, like a bad son, I lied. Sure, everything's great, it's cool. Bottom line is, I did not get to walk with my class in 1977. I had to go to summer school because I flunked history. I'm sure, because obviously my mother had a huge party ready, announcements all right out, our son's going to graduate, and let my parents down again. In this study Bible, they give you notes. In case you're not quite understanding a verse, you can go down and they'll usually have a note. So this is the note on the passage I read. Disobedient and rebellious children were to be brought before the elders of the city and stoned to death. Good news. There is no biblical or archaeological evidence that this punishment was ever carried out. But the point was that disobedience and rebellion were not to be tolerated in the home or allowed to continue unchecked. These principles must never be used to justify or overlook abuse, harsh treatment of children. While firm guidance may be needed with strong consequences for disobedience, the Bible does not condone physical, verbal, or emotional abuse of children. Second reading, Proverbs 1, 8 and 9. Listen, my son, to your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teachings. They are garland to grace your head, and a chain to adorn your neck. I feel that very blessed because through all those things I just told you about, my parents never treated me harshly. They always treated me with unconditional love and also forgiveness. So I really think the closest we can come to our Father in heaven's unconditional love is what our mothers give us. Some people know here probably that 8 years ago, unfortunately, I lost my first wife, Renee. Very, very dear to me, very dear to my mother and father, very much so a part of our family, and most importantly, an awesome mother to my son. Now, during this hard time, I could understand why maybe God would punish me and take away my wife. But I could not for the life of me understand how God, a loving God, could take my only son's mother. I can remember kneeling at her bedside when things didn't look good and saying a prayer and asking God that very thing, like, I wasn't okay with it, but I can understand you punishing me. But why would you ever punish my son Cameron? Renee was very, very instrumental in raising him. Child's most formative years are from birth to 5 years old. And during that time, because I do still get sort of nervous around babies, I worked a lot of overtime. So I was not there. For sure I wasn't there much for when my son was 0 to 2. But I was definitely, I'm there now. But Renee did an awesome job. He definitely was the apple of my wife's eye. So one of the readings, talks about sorrow and God will always bless us. And being raised in the church, we always get through hard times by thinking, dear Lord, you must have a better plan. It's in your hands. Thy will be done. So unfortunately, Renee did end up passing away. At the same time, not Some people think really short right after Renee passed away. I met my present wife, Kim. If Renee was a 1 to 100 mom, she was 100. Kim is definitely a 99. I've been very blessed. She and Cameron get along. If he has girl problems or something like that, he calls her. He don't call me. And sometimes I do. I get upset about that. Kim is also a very wonderful mother. And she endured that hard time when I was addicted. And when I told, because I definitely kept it a secret from everybody. But when I confessed that, she too was appalled and had to drive me to rehab. Kim is also very good now that Cameron's older. She always likes to remind me to be the parent. Okay, my son who's 22, I want to be his best friend. Okay? So if he asks me about, can't really think of a good example, or when he thinks he needs mag wheels for his car. Okay, Kim's like, be the parent, Steve. Have tough love. Tell him no, which is really a lot of times hard for. It's hard for me. It's a lot of hard times for some parents. By the time a baby is 2 years old, parents will have changed 7,300 dirty diapers. That would explain why I wasn't around when he was before time. Another reading. Proverbs 22:17-25. Listen to your father and mother who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy, meaning pay for, the truth and do not sell it. Wisdom, instruction, and insight as well. A father of a righteous child has great joy. A man who fathers a wise son rejoices in him. May your father and mother rejoice. May she who gave you birth be joyful. Very, very blessed to have my son. And now with Kim, I also have 3 stepchildren, which, again, you have to look at that as a blessing. There's no other way looking at it. Times can be tough sometimes, but it's a good thing. But there's nothing more. I can remember going to Cameron's every sporting event, et cetera, and there's nothing better than when your son's doing good and things are going great. And we as parents get to watch our children grow up, and it's an awesome thing. We help them walk, we help them talk, ride their bike. We get to see them graduate high school, most, and then even graduate college, which my son actually did last Saturday, which is a huge, huge thing. Kim and I were just blessed with a brand new granddaughter. And it just to show you unconditional love. Okay, so 4 months ago, I go to Kim with Kim to Ashland to visit the grandbaby, because the joy this grandbaby gives Kim is just unbelievable. So the parents, they take the time, they go out and eat. So Kim is here sitting in like a lazy boy type chair, and I'm next to her on the couch. And in front of her is an ottoman. The baby has a dirty diaper, so she's going to change the baby right there. Takes the diaper off, a little bit of diarrhea possibly. And all of a sudden, here it comes, like diarrhea all over my wife. Okay? And it's just one of those things I never see, besides maybe the day I married her, I want to think, but that day she was happy. She was just so happy with that. She's like, can you give me a towel? And meanwhile, like, I'm running. I just see this thing coming up, get the heck out of the room. But it's one of those things one of those, where you just gotta go, wow, really? Like, if I would have wore tennis shoes today, she'd kill me. Like, you gotta wear good shoes, right? but there she is, covered in it. And obviously everything was fine, but she was very, very happy about that. The unconditional love our mothers give and still give us is a huge blessing from God. No one is close to perfect, too perfect, but moms love us no matter what. Our Heavenly Father loves us even more. Ephesians 6, 1-5. And basically this is the 5th commandment. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with the promise, so it may be well with you and you may enjoy a long life on earth. If our faith in Christ is real, now this is the notes. Okay. If our faith in Christ is real, it will usually prove itself at home, in our relationships with those who know us best. Children and parents have a responsibility to each other. Children should honor their parents, even if the parents are demanding and unfair. Parents should care gently for their children, even if the children are disobedient and unpleasant. Ideally, of course, Christian parents and Christian children will relate to each other with thoughtfulness and love. This will happen if both parents and children put the other's interest above their own. That is, if they submit to one another. I mentioned that I have a stepdaughter. I have only one stepdaughter who still lives with Kim and I, and she'll be 18 next Saturday. And I can tell you that it ain't always happening in our home. And I really think it's something that as you get older, for me it was probably I had to be 40 before I finally realized how my parents always just wanted the best for me. If we could only think, or the first time we ever heard the 10 Commandments, if all of us could only just even do 10% of what those 10 Commandments say, our lives would have been so much smoother. I could have made my parents so much happier. They would be really, I would have blessed them more. I'm really hoping that with this opportunity to get to speak, I blessed my mother yesterday and my father today. Because in their wildest dreams, way back then, they were like, hey, you're not my church. It does seem that the only way our children learn anything is they have to make their own mistakes. And it's our jobs as parents to always be there for them and always, forgive their wrongs, always encourage them. I know we all try, just like the kids, we got to be the best parents we possibly can be. Last week, John 19:25-27. And this is actually about when Jesus is hanging on the cross. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother there, and the disciple to whom he loved, standing nearby, Jesus said to her, "Woman, here is your son." And to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, the disciple took her into his home. The notes say, even while dying on the cross, Jesus was concerned about his family. He instructed John to care for Mary. Our families are precious gifts from God, and we should value and care for them under all circumstances. So there you have it. Jesus dying on the cross, but he's still concerned about his precious mother. Our families, our mothers, are precious gifts from God. So what can you today do to show love for your mom and family? Today is the absolute busiest phone day there is. There's going to be 122.5 million phone calls today alone. You would assume a lot of them are to moms. I encourage you to do more than just a phone call. After all, you must remember that before you were 2, she changed 7,330 diapers. She bandaged all your boo-boos. She helped you mend broken hearts, wiped away all your tears. She cried when you were sad, and she rejoiced when you were happy. She forgave all your wrongs, and she has loved you unconditionally